Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to do Sweet Pea Embroidery Designs new Hexagon, spring Hexagon runner. And I have some of my blocks already made. Like I've got the butterfly ones made. And I used variegated thread for my butterfly. For all of my butterflies, so it adds a lot of like movement to them. One of the flower blocks, another flower block, and 2 of the bee blocks. I did mine exactly the same. You can do them different if you want. So the only thing I have left to do is one of the flower blocks, and I'm going to walk you through the steps of how to do that, and then I'll show you how to put the hexagons together. So what you need for each block is, I got 1 piece of tearaway stabilizer in my hoop, but you can use cutaway. The directions actually do call for cutaway, but I like tearaway, so I'm going to use tearaway. You need 1 piece of batting, 1 piece of fabric for like the outside piece. It's like the pink piece here. And then you need a piece for your center. And I'm using white. Actually, I'm using a white on white. I don't know if you can see. It's like a white on white. I really like that. Yeah, white on white. It's hard to see which one's right and wrong. All right, so I'm going to scooch in and show you how to do the design. Let's scooch it in here. All right, maybe you can see. Hope you can see everything good. Okay, so the first thing it's going to do is it's going to lay a placement line down. So I'm going to let it sew that one out. Lay your piece of batting down, stitch it down. Step 2. So now what you want to do is take this to your counter or whatever and trim this your hexagon out all the way around, making sure not to trim any of your stitches. Wonder if I cut that light off, if that'll make it easier for y'all to see. Put this one over here on it, you think? Maybe? I don't know. That didn't help, did it? So I'm going to go trim mine and I'll be right back. Alright, here I am back. You see I've got my hexagon trimmed. Alright, I'm going to lay my background fabric down, making sure you have at least half of an inch all the way around the whole thing, so when we trim it, you have your ½ inch seam allowance. Yep, that'll work. And then do the next step. So take your centerpiece that you want here. If this is a darker color, then you know your layer of whatever color it is darker. You can trim this piece out so you don't show. I kind of like it to be like a shadowy effect behind mine. So that's what I'm going for. So I'm going to lay this down, covering all of the placement lines, and then stitch it down. So now I'm going to take it and I'm going to trim only my white fabric, just like I did the batting, as close as I can get to the stitch line. As close as I can get to the stitch line without hitting any of them. I'll be right back. Alright, I've got my white fabric trimmed all the way around. Let's put it back in the machine. And now what it's going to do is a satin stitch around your centerpiece. So whatever color you want for that, I'm going to do white. The next step is going to do a decorative stitch around the white satin stitch that I just did. And all of your blocks up until now are going to be done exactly the same. Each step, step by step, all the steps are exactly the same. What changes is the design that are on the, like a flower or bee or butterfly or whatever it is. So I'm on the last flower block, so I'm going to do all of my embroidery from here on. Fast forward y'all through it, and then I'll meet y'all when it's time to take it out. Alright guys, here it is. I'm through embroidering. It turned out gorgeous. I love it. Okay, so now you're just going to free it from the hoop. And I'm going to pull all this off real quick. If you're using cutaway, you can just leave it. Ain't no sense in removing it. Just getting what I can off of it. Excuse me. Now the directions say trim it to 1/2 inch. I like mine trimmed more to 1/4 inch. It just, for me, it seems better to lay when you get through with your hexagons, but you can do what the directions said and do 1/2 inch. I'm trimming mine to just under, well, right at 1/4 inch. On all of the sides. Gorgeous. All right, so I already have all of the rest of mine made. So we can lay this out in a couple of different ways. So we have 2 bees and 4 butterflies. Look how pretty my blocks turned out. They turned out so cute. I'm so pleased with them. All right, so how do I want this laid out? You can do it in like a long runner. You can do it in a hexagon shape. I think I want mine in a longer runner. And I think I want this flower to be my center. Okay, so if this is the center, we can just go around it with let's put a beef line that way and a beef line this way, and put that one there, and this one here maybe. No, let's do this one. Well, I think I want then let's not have the butterflies flying all the same direction. Let's turn them around some so they fly in all. That one can fly in. That one can fly that way, and then my flower at the end. I think that is how I want my runner to be. Yes, that's going to be gorgeous. Okay, so to sew these hexagons together, there is a couple of tricks and tips that I can show you. When you flip these over, you want to line up your stitch line. See this line here that we trimmed it by? Line up that line and the other line like pretty perfect. You want them to be right dead on top of each other. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to take a pin. I'm going to take a pin, stick it right in that corner, and I'm going to stick it right in that corner, and then I'm going to pin it through, and I'm going to take a pin and stick it right in that corner, and then pin it through. Then I'm going to take my clips and just kind of peek in here and make sure they're lined up and clip it along the way. And you can see where the line where I just lined that up with and the one that's dead under it is where we sewed the batting down, the placement for the batting. You want to sew right between them two lines. Okay? You also don't want to go any further. Don't go off the edges. Start at that corner and stop at this corner. You don't want to go all the way to the edge. Start here, stop here. And do that with all 3 of your rows. So that one will be sewed. We're going to sew this row together, this row together, and this row together. Okay? At these little short ends here. I'm going to go ahead and pin a couple of mine so that when I get to the machine, I can just sew them right on down. There we go. I'm using corsage pins, but you can use, any pin you want. And then just pull the top one back, peek and see. Can see that's not lined up. Line them up, pinch them together, and clip them. So I'm going to take that to the machine and I'm going to sew both of these seams. And I'm going to do that for the rest of these. Alright, so I'm going to put my needle down right in that corner. where that pin is at. I'm going to sew on a 2.5 stitch length, and I'm going to sew in between the two seams, which for me is about, because I trimmed mine to 1/4 of an inch instead of 1/2 of an inch, my seam is more like 3/8. Back stitching at the beginning of the end, at the end as well. And don't sew past the end. Seam 1. And I'm going to do that with all the rest of them. Look at there. Okay. Now, when you get through with these, take these to the iron and you want to press your seams open. Okay. Make sure you press them open. I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to do the same thing with these 3. And then I got my other row here. I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to put a pin right in that corner, a pin right in that corner, and I'm going to pin it. I'll put a pin in this corner, and in this corner. Pin it. Pull this back, check and make sure your seams are lining up, and they are. And sew it. Perfect. Okay. And do it again. When I backstitch, I only backstitch at most 2 stitches. There's that one. And as you can see, I didn't sew all the way to the end. Okay, so there's these 2 rows. Oh, they go diagonal. I'm like, why aren't they lining up? Okay. There's them two. Now let's do the same thing with this row. Flip it over. This corner and this corner. Excuse me, I'm trying to get over this cold. This corner and this corner. Making sure they line up. And they do. And sew it. And we got one more. And then there's that seam. I'm going to go take mine and press all my seams open, and I'll be right back. Alright, so that's how the table runner is going to go. I've got all my seams pressed open. So now what you're going to do is take this row, flip it over to this row. Okay, so you've got this one, and you want to know where it lines up at. So we're going to start over here, and we're going to sew from here to here, and that's it. Just from here to the first little point. I'm going to do the same things that I've been doing. I'm going to line this corner up with this corner and pin it. And I'm going to come to this corner . Right in that corner. Excuse me. And where you have your seam pressed open, you don't want to catch that in the seam, so just fold that over to the side and sew it down. I'm going to peek in here in the middle and make sure they're lined up. They are, and I'm going to sew from here to here just like we did before, and I'm going to make sure I don't catch that back seam. Okay. So that is seam 1 right here. Now we're just going to, again, flip it up. We're going to line these two up the exact same way, these two up, and so from here to here. Making sure we don't catch any of the seam allowances that we have opened. Just get in that corner. You almost don't have to pin this other corner over here because you've done got a seam here, so it's kind of already caught, so that's kind of nice. You just got to bend it halfway, bend this one in half. Straighten everything up. Make sure they're lined up. And they are. And so from here to here, again, making sure you don't catch any seam allowances. Back stitching at the beginning and the end. Okay, so when you open it up, this is what you have. So I have this seam sewed. And to make sure everything lays nice and flat. You don't have any puckers. I think I might have had a little pucker there, but I think I pulled it out. So I have this seam sewed and I have this seam sewed. So now what we're going to do is so we stopped here. I don't know that you can see. Let's see. Okay, so we stopped here, and now we're just going to sew this seam. Wait, I think it goes this way. Yep. So now we're just going to continue on the same way. In this corner. In this corner. You just have to take this piece here that's before it and fold it in half. Make sure your seam is lined up. And it is, and sew this piece. Open it up. And then we got one more, which is the purple to the blue here. So we're just going to flip this up, fold this piece right before it in half, and line up your corners. So right in this corner and right in this corner. And then I'm going to take it and pin it, making sure the lines are lined up, these seams. And they are. Now sew from here to here. Okay. There's that. Now we're going to sew this pink one to the blue one, this very end piece. Exact same way. Perfect. So we have these two together. And we just got one more row to add. There we go. So we're going to add these. I don't know how two yellows ended up the same way. I must have sewed them backwards. And I don't want to take it apart. I don't really want to take it apart. Yeah, I'm probably going to take it apart and refix all this. So I'll meet you back here. Alright guys, sorry, I thought I was sewing when I sewed the other row on, but I did not. And as you can see, I did flip my middle row over. So now what I have here is my top, and I have pressed all of my seams open the absolute best I could. And then this is going to be my backing fabric. So what I have here is a piece that is larger than my runner. And I cut it in half. See my seam here. And I sewed at the end of both sides, and we have a hole right here. And this is what we're going to turn the runner inside out with. And then we'll just stitch that closed. So I've got this right side up on my table. So this is right side up. I'm going to take my runner and I'm going to lay it right side down, and making sure everything's straight and smooth, and I'm going to pin it. Oh, excuse me, all the way around. I got the hiccups. Oh, that one's a dull pin. And I'm just going to turn it around so I can reach the other side. Alright, so we have it pinned all the way around. Now I'm going to take it to the machine, and I'm going to sew on the outside 1/8 of an inch on the inside of the stitch line. So for me it'll be like a 3/8 inch seam allowance from the outside of the fabric, or just 1/8 of an inch inside of the stitch line. So I'm going to go do that, and I'll be right back. Alright guys, so what I have here is sewed all the way around the back and the front. Here's my hole that we left in the back. You can see it sewed all the way around. So what I'm going to do is take my pinking shears. You don't have to use pinking shears, but you know, I have them, so I might as well use them. And I'm going to cut this out all the way around. You can use regular scissors. What I'm going to also do is right here where the corners are, I'm just going to snip in, right in. Just, I'm not going past the seam. I'm not cutting the seam. I'm just snipping in that corner just a little bit. Okay. And then I'm also going to take these and I'm going to snip off these points. And that's going to help it when it turns to be a little more pointy. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. Alright, so now I'm going to snip all my points. Snip inside. As you go around, just snip them off. I don't know if you can hear the guineas outside, but they are just a-hollering. Well, I think that's all of mine. Alright, so now I'm going to reach in and turn it right side out. I'm going to take my chopstick and I'm going to go in very carefully and poke out all my corners. Make sure they're nice and crisp and pretty. Just going to run the chopstick down the seam. And that'll make it nice and flat. Out my corners. And I'll take it and press it. Look it over, make sure that's how I want it. I think that looks good. I'm going to press it. I'm just going to turn you around here to the ironing board and see if I can't scooch behind you. If you have one of these points here that don't want to lay just perfect, if you'll go in and snip just a little bit closer to the stitch line, that should help out a lot. Alright, so now all I want to do is ladder stitch my hole closed and we'll have a runner. I'll turn you back around here to that. And that's it, guys. I'm gonna stitch my hole closed and look how pretty. It turned out great. Let me see if I can't give you a better shot. Oh, I love all the colors. And then again, that's the back and my hole here, and I'm going to ladder stitch that closed. And that's the front. Hope you enjoyed. Bye!